Hey everyone, Jared Gatsby, your local real estate superhero, here again for our Monday through Friday event of going over the top 5 biggest mistakes that I see sellers making when it comes to trying to sell their homes. We are in day 3, so it should be going up on Wednesday, and we're going over the third topic. It's not to say it's the most important topic, it's not to say it's in the middle of the top 5, it's just to say it's an important topic. It's something that I see people either doing a lot or it has a huge impact. It's not to say that any of these mistakes are the biggest mistakes anyone could ever make. It's not to say that they're the mistakes people make the most. It's just to say that they fall somewhere in a happy medium. It's not to say that they're the dumbest things in the world. In fact, most of them tend to have a very realistic reason for why people believe them. And it's not to say that everyone makes them all the time. It's just to say that there is some kind of middle ground to where either a lot of people make the mistake, or when they make the mistake, it can cause the most issues down the road, whether it be when it's on the market or whether it be when you're in escrow. And so that's not the only mistakes anyone can ever make. It's just my top 5 for what I see happen and I see what causes a lot of stress and anxiety. And my job as your local real estate superhero is to try to mediate and mitigate all of the stress and anxiety that can come from this, because moving can be stressful. Selling your home can be stressful, and so trying to make sure that you guys have as little stress as possible, that should be every real estate agent's job. So we're going over point number 3. This one I like, it's a very important one, and it goes into the idea of what I was just saying, where it's not the biggest mistake in the world, but it's a mistake that I see happen a lot, and it's just the idea that every single market is the same. And what I mean by that is, you hear it all the time, the housing market is crashing, or, you know, loans are going up, or the market's going down, or home values are going up, or buyers are having more power versus sellers, or vice versa. That's just, it's a common themality to assume that the broad spectrum of how the housing market is doing will dictate how your market is doing. And that part can't be further from the truth. And that's what's sad, is that, you know, there's definitely a core central housing market that you can pay attention to. And if that starts to just plummet, then, you know, there's a very decent chance that you will be affected in one way or the other. But every neighborhood is different. You can quite literally drive in some parts of Southern California 15 minutes and be in a completely different environment when it comes to trying to sell or buy your home. And so it's just something you need to see on a case-by-case basis. A good example is with the quarantine and with everything going on in 2020, my neighborhood in particular has started to flourish pretty heavily. And that can't be said for every single neighborhood. There are some neighborhoods that definitely took a hit, and as a buyer's agent in those neighborhoods, that helped me quite a bit. But as a selling agent in my neighborhood, where I have, you know, a lot more listings and a lot more pull with sellers, it actually helped quite a bit. Our market actually went up. And they're two totally drastic, different types of markets. They're also, coincidentally, about 20 minutes away from each other. And so, if in a 20-minute drive, you can go where the housing prices and days on market are flourishing, and they're doing fantastic. But 20 minutes away, I got someone on the buyer side a deal for $55,000 less than what the original asking price was. So, you have to be willing to take into account that your market may be different. And so that's the beauty of it, is that your market may very well be different. And that could be bad sometimes, but it can be good sometimes too. In an environment where we are going through everything that 2020's been throwing our way, having my neighborhood at the very least starting to do a lot better and starting to do actually horrifyingly and astonishingly well, it's kind of nice to be able to see, because it's, you know, it's a small little benefit that came from something that isn't really great for a lot of people. And so that's good, and I like to be able to take a lot of appreciation for that. But you need to know that, and you need to plan accordingly. If you're in a market that is currently more favorable to buyers, then you need to be willing to play that game too, and you need to acknowledge what it is. I have some people in Southern California that are waiting because their market did get hit, and as much as, you know, the salesman in me wants to tell you that right now is the absolute best time to buy, the human in me wants to tell you to just hold on and wait for it to recover a little bit. And if it recovers well, then we do something. And if it doesn't recover at all, then we reassess and see if we need to try to pull the plug now and act now before it gets worse. But we need to do the math and we need to figure it out. We need to watch the trends, because it's not going to be the same here as it is 20 minutes away, or an hour away, or in a different state, or in a different neighborhood, or in, you know, a different country. I don't know. But point is, you don't know unless you do the math. There's a reason why real estate agents are licensed per state, and it's because unlike California, you know, which is gigantic, most states tend to be relatively small, and so one agent could know how all the markets are doing in any given area pretty quickly. In California and in, you know, Texas, it may be a little bit different, but then we go by region. You know, I'm very much in the know whenever it comes to Southern California, but if you go to Sacramento, I don't know what to tell you. And I'm gonna be honest about that. I don't know how well the market is doing over in Sacramento. I just don't. I don't know what it's like in Nebraska. And that's why you need to be capable of looking into each of those as individuals. And even then, you need to go further in. One neighborhood may be doing better than the neighborhood next to it. And there may be reasons for that. The taxes may be much higher in the neighborhood next. The home prices may be a lot better in your neighborhood versus the neighborhood right next to you. And if you aren't willing to check that, you may start playing in a game that you don't know the rules to. And so make sure you do your homework, make sure you do the math right, and that way, whenever you hit the ground running, you don't trip over your own mistakes. This isn't the biggest mistake in the world, but it is a very common one. Not every market's the same, so find the market that's yours and fight to your strengths to get what you want out of it. So, that's point number 3. We are in Wednesday. I will see you guys tomorrow, Thursday, for point number 4 of the top 5 biggest mistakes that I see sellers make when they're trying to sell their home. It's still a huge mouthful. Don't know if ever we're going to shorten the name, but that's what we're doing. And that's what we're going over, so I will see you guys later, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Thanks so much. Bye.